Hey, Mehro.
Boom.
Thanks for coming down.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, did you grow up here in LA?
Born and raised in LA. Yes. Born and raised in this beautiful little town. I usually, for the sake of, I keep that private generally where I'm from specifically because people have their beliefs about where I'm from. So I've kept that away from press and stuff. But yes, I am born in Los Angeles, born and raised.
How was that for you?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Perfect weather all the time. I wouldn't have it any other way. I love this city. I love the sports teams. I love the entertainment aspect. I love that anything is possible. I love the iconicism of it. I love it.
Do you were your parents in the entertainment business at all?
So this is also something I've kept under wraps as well. A bit, yes. They're both in music. My mom's a songwriter and producer, and my dad was a music publisher as well.
So you grew up with music.
I did, but I never thought it was for me. I never thought it was the life that I was meant to have. And then on accident, I watch Walk the Line.
Wow.
And then I started playing guitar that night. Completely changed my life, completely changed the course of my life.
That's amazing. Movie. Did you know anything about Johnny Cash at all before you saw it?
Nothing.
Didn't
know a thing.
How old are you at this time?
24.
No, I'm talking about when you watched Walk the Line.
17. It just changed my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was so cool.
You've been writing songs for, 6-7 years?
Just about.
Yeah.
Just about. Because that's when the process started. Was shortly after learning guitar. Just the songs it was a pretty natural process for me.
How did you learn guitar? Did you pick it up naturally?
It started with wanting to learn how to play one song, Folsom Prison Blues, and playing that song over and over again for 2 or 3 weeks. I played at a little show, they called it In-House, where once a month people would gather from my school at somebody's house and they would host it, and people would perform poetry or sing or do whatever they wanted to do. And I sang that song at that event, and I was hooked. I wanted to keep singing and keep playing and keep learning, and the pursuit has never stopped since then.
What was the crowd reaction like?
They were very happy. I mean, I've seen clips of that performance. I saw it only a few months after I did it, and I was horrified, and I hated it, and it was awful. But the crowd was very, very kind. They were a lot of my friends, a few strangers, and they were really impressed. And it was very thoughtful that they would say that to me, because if I saw that performance, I would be like, yuck, atrocious, trash, terrible.
Well, I saw you perform at the El Rey, I guess maybe about 9 months or a year ago.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought you were awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Very, very good live. Yeah.
Thank you. It's so crazy because we just headlined the El Rey, and to think that in such a short period of time we were able to open and then headline the show ourselves, it was really a special night.
How did you feel that show went?
I thought it was great. I think the way I would describe it, the crowd was rowdy. It was the biggest venue that we played on tour up to that point, because we were mostly playing 200 to 450 cap rooms, and El Rey is 771. Super high ceilings, beautiful,
it's
legendary venue. And the crowd was just happy to be there. They were excited to be there, which is very unlike LA. LA is usually too cool for school, and they're very, everyone's usually chatting at a low murmur. They were loud, and they were happy to be there. And a lot of my friends came to the show. A lot of family came out to the show. It was a really great night. It felt like it was hard to control it. It felt like there was like it was an ocean that I was on a boat, and and it was just crazy weather, and we were just manning the storm. That's what it felt like to be on that stage.
And who was on the stage? Did you have like other players?
I did. So Callan O'Brien is my bass player and percussionist, and Jack Matra is my drummer. Each of them are incredible musicians and can play multiple musicians. They can play multiple instruments, but those are their favorite instruments that they play.
Yeah, it seems like most of your songs are sort of acoustic and vocal. Is that true?
Yes, I would say that's true. The pause was, I don't necessarily think about making music that way. And with what is to come, not even including Trauma Lullabies, because I'm thinking ahead of that even. And if people who went to the show will know that there is a lot more to share, different sounds, different. We're building a world of our own. You know what I mean? I'm in a race with myself. I will say yes. A lot of the songs have acoustic guitar. I'm also very excited to share what's to come.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
No, I was listening to the new album Trauma Lullabies on the way over here, and it's sounds like some of your best work. I mean, recording wise, sonically it sounds amazing.
Thank you. Way too kind, and I'm very lucky to work with the people that I get to work with.
Who worked on that record?
So it was produced by Tim James and myself as well, and engineered by Steve Hammonds and Adam Comstock, Heroin Music Group with an E. Yeah, none of the music exists without those incredible people.
I came down to your photo shoot, and there was two producers there, right?
Yes.
Is that who you're referring to, or I thought they were with the Matrix or something?
I don't remember who you met that day. I don't remember who
Is
you
there
met that
a
day.
female producer as well as?
She's the head of the label. She's the head of Heroin Music Group. That's Antonina.
Okay, got ya.
That's Antonina.
Got ya. She's cool.
And Tim James, if he was a tall guy with black hair wearing sunglasses,
Right.
then that was him.
Yeah. Okay. Got ya.
And I'm very proud to be associated with them.
How long did it take you to write this record?
I don't know. It wasn't. I wasn't keeping track of time like that.
Yeah.
Because
there's no such thing as time, as you know.
when I don't know what we're allowed to talk about on podcasts, but when you go in and out of this reality, helped by outside sources or not, you see that very statement is pretty evident. That all is happening all at once.
Yeah.
And for the most part in this experience, we're seeing it as a line like this. But if you're lucky enough to be able to look down at it, sometimes you can see, you're just like, oh my gosh. I'm assuming you've had experiences like this.
Yeah, of course, yes. That's why we can converse on it like we know it.
Right. And there's what's so great is that when you get a drop of whatever that elixir is, you realize that there is an ocean of it, or an infinite amount that perhaps we're just not meant to understand quite yet. You just get it and you're like, wow. Wow. So exciting to see what else there is to experience.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have like some sort of ritual that you do, or something that gets you into the mood to create or to write songs?
Oh, interesting. No.
Are you better like first thing in the morning or later at night, or?
I would say most things have been written at night. However, when it happens, and you got to be ready. Like, you have to have things around you to be able to capture. Thank God for voice memos. Seriously, there hasn't been a single song that I have written without that tool, because it's able to just at the ready.
Of course, yeah.
So thank goodness. I know I have a lot of problems with this time, and there's a lot of things where you think about, oh, if you were born in this time, and oh, that looks so cool to be from that. That application alone has made the creations that I'm a part of responsible. It's responsible for those creations, and I'm so grateful. Yeah, they happen. They come at all different times, all different days. I'm a night owl, even though I love waking up in the morning. I just love being awake. I love being up. If there was a way where I could only sleep or I only needed 4 hours of sleep a day, I would be so happy. I would love.
That's amazing. That means you love life.
Yeah, I guess I do. I guess I love the people that I get to spend time with.
Yeah.
When I'm around people that I don't love spending time with, it's a trek. Do you enjoy the people that you spend your time with?
I do.
You do?
I do, yeah.
Who are you spending most of your time with?
My wife, who's also my business partner.
Oh,
Jacqueline.
Cool. Shout out Jacqueline.
Just different people.
Jacqueline?
Jacqueline, yes.
That's your wife?
Yeah, that's my wife.
What? Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
So, and then,
That's so wonderful.
a lot of my friends are either like musicians or photographers or, something in the creative world. I like to surround myself with those kind of people. But
How'd you know that you wanted to be in this world?
in this world, like in the magazine world,
in the magazine world, or surrounding
media
yourself with
world.
artists,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like, what was there an experience that led you to that?
of course, yeah. I mean, I grew up as a musician, and
What'd you play?
Play guitar.
Nice,
Yeah, play guitar, and played in some bands.
nice.
And
Anything I would have
but I was
heard?
a
Anything?
magazine fanatic
Ah,
from the time I was 13. So I kind of put 2 and 2 together, and I ended up started off doing music magazines, and then, I ended up starting a cool female magazine, Nylon.
yes, of course,
And
of
then,
course.
Here I am doing another music magazine, Marvin. So, I consider myself a musician, and I love being around music and other musicians.
Was there a show? Was there a magazine issue that you saw that you were like, wow, oh my goodness, I have to do something like this with my life?
I mean, there were magazines that inspired me, just like there would be artists that inspire you.
Certainly.
So, I loved all sorts of magazines. I loved British magazines, ID in the Face, and in Andy Warhol's Interview. Those were magazines that all, inspired me. And we're reading music magazines, Enemy and Melody Maker and things like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've just started and haven't looked back too much.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
So who are some of your musical heroes?
So this is always a tough question for me, because when you mention one, you think of 4 more, and then you think of those. Then you have those 5, and then there's 20, and then those 20. There's whoever I say, I am missing hundreds of people when I. So
That's cool.
I will preface that. First person that came to mind in band is Nirvana. I just love their music. I think Elliott Smith's influence is a lot in Trauma Lullabies.
For sure. Yeah.
And somebody who I didn't discover until recently. Adam Comstock, one of the engineers on the record on Trauma Lullabies, is the one who introduced me to him. Hated his music the first time I heard it.
Really?
Hated it. Couldn't stand it. Listened to it again. I'm like, ugh, God. Listened to it the 3rd time. I'm like, I don't know. And then I listened to it subconsciously when I was drawing and doodling, so I wasn't judging it. And then I dropped my friend off after we were riding together. And then I was driving home on the 405 South, and I just fell in love with him. I completely understood what what he was trying to do.
Yeah, I saw him play like
No way.
in like a small record store. This old friend of mine, this guy named John Seidel, and I wasn't aware of him, and he took me to see him play at a record store. He wasn't that famous yet. And, just one of those special kind of artists that you could tell was much bigger than what you were seeing at that moment.
Man,
And,
that is so cool. Do you remember the year?
it was sometime in the 90s. I don't
Right.
know.
God, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Again, there's so many people that I'm missing. Joni Mitchell, Aretha Franklin.
Do you like things like Simon and Garfunkel?
I love Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
Of course. Oh my gosh, I love Simon and Garfunkel. Incredible. I mean, Paul Simon on his own, Simon and Garfunkel, Bob Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even mentioning artists that I love that are out now because did you get a chance to see the Grammys?
I watched the Grammys, yeah.
I was so impressed. I thought the show at first was a little shaky. I thought I was like, okay, everyone's getting their bearings. But then once they got their bearings, not the performance aspect, just the organization of the show, I thought
Right.
it was really entertaining to watch and just showed that we have some really amazing talent and artists in the world
Absolutely.
today.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Joni just tearing the room apart.
Yeah. That was amazing.
So incredible.
Was Tracy Chapman, that was on the Grammys,
That was
right?
Tracy Chapman was also on
Sometimes
the
I get
Grammys. Luke
confused
Combs.
with the Grammys and the Oscars. Because they're so close together.
Yeah.
And they both have musical performances.
Yes.
So
Yes.
So Ryan Gosling didn't play on the Grammys, right?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
They didn't do a big Barbie tribute.
I don't think so. Billy was the Barbie tribute, and ridiculous
Yeah,
as
it
always.
was amazing.
Just absurdly
Yeah.
absurd.
And you're managed by the same manager that manages Billy.
Very fortunately so. Yes. Shout out Danny Ruckeson.
Yeah.
So lucky. I love my team. I love the people that help make my career possible. Yeah. Danny Ruckeson. What's
That's
up?
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, he's cool. I like him.
You met him?
I've met him a few times, yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, and then one of the songs on Trauma Lullabies, I'm trying to think of the name of it, kind of sounds inspired a little bit by The Cure. Do you know which song I'm talking about?
I do know which one you're talking about.
Is it Radical or something?
Cynical.
Cynical.
Yes.
That was it, yeah.
Yes.
I knew it was a call, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a Cure fan?
I love The Cure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm honored to be. That's what's so amazing is that people hear different inspirations throughout the record, and for the most part, I'm super honored. And if not, it's an artist that I've never heard of, and it's so cool that you can draw inspiration from somebody that you don't even know.
Sure.
How exciting is that? I love The Cure.
So the song Reason to Live is out right now?
Yes, it's the most recent release. Yeah.
That's a great song.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually wrote that song. A really dear friend of mine, her name is Beth, took me on like an Elliott Smith tour all over LA to different landmarks that he has in the city that I didn't even know about. And there's murals of him, and there's places where he he lived in these like cottages, and those cottages ended up being inspiration for how the house where the seven dwarves lived, I guess, because everything in LA is, all these little stories. And we ended it where he died. And it was just such an eerie, such a weird, strange, dark energy. Shortly after that song just sort of happened.
Where did he die?
Supposedly, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Supposedly it was in his
It was
house.
his apartment.
It was
or
apartment
yeah.
house thing.
Was it like in Echo Park or somewhere?
Somewhere like that,
Yeah.
Silver Lake, something like that. It's an unclear story. I know very little about it. My understanding is that he built a contraption that when his ex walked through the door, that a knife or a blade like punctured him when she walked in, so that she would see him. I mean, no, this is a very tortured human being. There's other things that other people believe to be different. They think that she might have had something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know the details of it. I just knew it was a tragic death. And
Yeah.
too short of a time on Earth.
Way too short.
Yeah.
No one would have wanted him. The only person that believed that he should be not there is him.
Yeah.
Everyone else wanted him around. And it's such a shame. And there's so many people out there that are struggling with this demon and this battle.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing the actor who plays Reacher. I don't know his name off the top of my head. But he talks about how he believes the world would be a better place if he wasn't in it. And it's just not true for those that are going through this situation, even though that might be the voice that's telling you in your head that is true. That voice isn't always correct.
Right.
Especially when it's coming from a place of fear,
Mm-hmm.
which that statement is. And I found out recently, I was on live, and I found out this person that's always on my lives, her name was Sloan.
I went on that live because I knew we were going to talk, and I went on that live and I heard you. I saw your reaction to it.
Yeah.
But you were unsure whether it was really true or not. Was it true that you?
To all accounts, from what I've been told,
Yeah.
no one has said otherwise, and I have not seen any activity from her. She committed suicide, and
So
she's
sad.
15, 16 years old. It's like unfathomable.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfathomable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only reason I was saying that I wasn't sure about it is just because if somebody's telling you a piece of information on a live, it doesn't mean it's true.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I've learned that from Callan, my bass player, to do thorough research, obviously to take something into account, but like hear what they have to say and do your own private research about it. Like
Mhm.
always hear what somebody has to say, but find out more information. So I jump to assumptions. I jump to conclusions quickly. Heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. Sloan.
Do you have a lot of like your fans reach out to you about mental health struggles?
Yes.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yes. So when it was a lot more manageable, I was responding to DMs every day,
Mm-hmm.
and people would write to me and reveal incredible secrets and struggles to me. And now that it's harder to keep track of that on DMs, people usually do that in comments on YouTube videos mostly.
Mm-hmm.
People feel most comfortable on YouTube to express those situations that they're going through, whether they've just recently lost a partner, either out of relationship or out of literal life and death, and the struggles of that and mental battles.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, people, I'm forgetting the word, but they're comfortable telling me a lot of
Right.
their
Well, probably
dark
because
truths.
your music is so personal and the way it's recorded is that you feel like you're in the same room. So maybe that's why people feel comfortable in reaching out to you.
If that's the way you feel listening to the music, I couldn't ask for anything more than that. So
Great.
I hope that people feel that way because of that. That's beautiful.
What was your first biggest song?
Perfume.
Perfume. That's
Perfume.
what I thought. Yeah.
Came out so
2020?
interesting. 2020, but here's what's so interesting. February 20th, 2020 was when it was released on YouTube, because it was technically a Friday, so it had to be out on February 21st for Spotify and everything.
Mhm.
But on YouTube, it's out February 20th because I love 2/20/2020. It's weird how the world works. Because Kurt Cobain's birthday was February 20th,
Hmm.
and his favorite book was called Perfume.
Wow.
Never knew that. I found that out. I want to say I found that out in 2021, that his
Mhm.
favorite book was called Perfume. And it was this book that I'd always seen around the studio because it was gifted to Antonina by Simon Fuller, because it's one of his favorite books.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd always seen it around. And sometimes you don't realize why you want to do things when you want to do them. And then the universe gives you little secrets as to like, that's just a fascinating, it's just the statistical chances of that are so strange that all of those things come together. But that was the song that's changed, that started everything and changed my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some very cool synchronicity.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Because I think Kurt's one of the greatest to ever do it. Another life taken far too soon.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
What would have been possible with what he would have been able to write is...
Back to mental health specifically.
Please.
Do you, I struggle with it as well. So
what do you struggle with?
Depression and mania. Both. But
double-edged sword.
I guess what I'm like reaching out to ask you is, do you encourage people to use medication if they need it, or are you an anti-medication person? Or
neither anti or pro. That one, I know so little about it, so it's not for me to say. I'm very much of what each person believes to be true is true, and also false. In the paradox that is living, that what works for somebody works for them. And if they sincerely believe that something works for them, then you can't take that away from them.
Right.
No matter what it is. So whatever leads you to be your best self, then you have to do it. For me, I strive to be the best version of myself that I can be. And I do my best to be as reliant on myself and my inner world as possible. But there have been times when you take something and it makes you feel better, it relieves you.
Sure.
And thank goodness for those things to exist when necessary. Wouldn't want to go through surgery without...
right.
Without, what is it? Is it...
anesthesia. What is it?
Anesthesia.
Anesthesia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Somebody.
Thank you, God.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I wouldn't want to know what that's like without... There's so many advances.
No.
Are you anti or pro medication?
I'm pro medication.
Pro medication.
For people that need it. Yeah.
It could
definitely. You could talk about big pharma and all that sort of thing, but there's certain medication helps people with depression or bipolar or anxiety, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I've had it save very dear friends' lives.
Yeah,
both of those for different situations where people needed something to help them because life was just pulling them down.
Right.
And thank goodness they were able to get to a place where they didn't need it. Some people I know still take it, but they're back to being themselves again.
Right.
So if that allows them to be back to themselves, then what am I to... Thank you. Thank goodness for the situation at hand. Everybody is a different... That's what's crazy. I mean, talking about time and the structure of how we experience it linearly. There's so many things that exist today in this day and age that not only didn't exist 10 years ago, but the world was a completely different place 50, 100, 200, 300 years ago, to things that we are reliant upon today would be fantasy to human beings that existed only 200 years ago. Which
for sure.
Things that we are reliant
50
upon. 50 years ago. Things that we need. Things that I couldn't imagine living without voice memos. This is a new invention, and thank goodness for it. All that to say, each of us are here to learn something different in this life, and each of us have a unique set of challenges that face us and experiences that have shaped us from behind us in our past and our experience. And whatever leads you to your treasure, so be it. As long as you're not hurting anyone else.
I read somewhere where you talked about the idea of being a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're still interested in?
Yes. That was my first love. That's what I thought I was going to do with my life. I thought I was going to be a filmmaker. I applied to film schools. I got denied from every single one of them.
Wow.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
That was the universe.
It was the universe. Because that's when I applied for college, I said I want to be in the best situation possible for my future. I want to be in the best situation for me. Take me there. And that was what was unfolded. I was so unknowledgeable at the time that I applied for a few master's programs as a high school graduate. So obviously, to apply for a master's, you need you need to go to graduate school, and that was. You need your undergrad. See how little I know? I still don't know. You need to get like your first 4 years of college before you can apply for a master's degree. I just liked the way master's degree sounded, so I applied for a few of those in film. So those I didn't even get letters back from those schools. I didn't realize this till recently, but there were a couple of schools that I actually got denied from because I applied for it correctly, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I love filmmaking, and I look at every single music video as a film. Because I've directed...
You direct them, right?
I direct them or co-direct all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now getting into the process of auditioning for things, which is very new in my music career of wanting to have the opportunity to express myself as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I went to acting school as well. Baron Brown Studio in Santa Monica. Changed my life. Shout out DW. Love you, DW. Joanne. Everybody there. I love filmmaking. I want it to be a part of my life for the rest of my life. It's a beautiful art form.
Do you like the fact that it's like a complete vision of somebody that when you're a director?
I love the camaraderie
right.
of being on a set.
Mm-hmm.
And all these people working towards one goal is something that always inspired me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you go to a sleepover with friends, they're like, oh, let's make a movie tonight. And I'm like, yes, let's make a movie tonight. Holy crap. And then 45 minutes in, everyone's like, how about let's just like get some pizza or whatever. And I'm like, guys, we have a movie to make. Like, let's do this. And then I only followed through on a couple of friends with finishing an actual project at a sleepover. And it was some of the most rewarding experiences of my life. So I love the camaraderie aspect. It's incredibly challenging. The amount of work that it takes to make a film versus to record a song, so astronomically different. Mm-hmm. Because there are so many things that have to live in camera for it to exist visually, whereas sonically you can just record it at any time.
Right.
Visually, there's so many things that you are set in stone with.
Mm-hmm.
And with your ears, there's so much room for adjusting and perhaps that is to the detriment of some producers and creators because they're constantly reworking something and putting too much cerebral thought into it because they can. When you're making a film, what is on screen is on screen. And you have to go back, get all those people back to set, costs a ton of money, do it right to change what you need to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Or you can do it in post.
Or you can do it in post. Pull a Star Wars and save the movie from save the film's existence.
What's your opinion on AI?
Ooh. It's a tidal wave. It's going to happen. It's going to change the world.
Have you played around with it at all?
Yes.
Like ChatGPT and stuff like that?
Very minimally on that. Mm-hmm. Very little. I haven't used that to my advantage yet, but it's more like some of the videos that we're posting to premiere the song, just to like tease the songs out for the album. Mm-hmm. We're using AI visuals for it, which are being conducted by Ryan Calavano, who is responsible for every single video that I've made, either as a director of photography, a cinematographer, or a co-director with me. Mm-hmm. Ryan, I love you. I think it's one of those things it's just inevitable. It's going to change the world. And like anything that changes the world, there's going to be positive things and there's going to be negative aspects that come with it.
Yeah.
Like phones.
Sure.
I mean, phones completely changed
absolutely
the world. And you could say, oh, screw phones, they're bad and they're taking up people's time and attention and mental force, and it's all true. I mean, there are serious issues that are going to arise from that, but there's no doubt about the incredible positives that it has done as well. AI is too powerful of a force to stop, and whatever comes to fruition from it, we can only be responsible for ourselves.
Right.
And our actions.
I mean, it's great if you can use it as a tool.
Yes.
Whether it be a medical tool or, a writing tool or what have you, if it's a tool in your toolbox, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity there.
It depends on how it is given to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's open source
Mm-hmm.
and everybody has the exact same availability to the exact same power,
Mm-hmm.
then I believe it's really incredible. If it's limited at all, then it's dangerous. But if everybody has access to an AI lawyer, and everybody has access to an AI doctor, and everybody has access to, so that medically speaking, people can live longer and be treated properly for the things that they're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
and people can be represented in a court of law without having to lose all of their resources.
Right.
And at the same time, are we low on time?
No,
Are we doing okay?
just somebody left
And
the building.
and at the same time, make sure that people's lives aren't changing for the worse. If there's a way to do all of that, it's such a complicated issue.
Sure. Sure.
I just believe that there's no way of stopping it, and that's okay.
That's okay.
That's a beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful thing. You know, I put on sunblock because I'm not going to be able to stop the sun,
Right.
but it'll burn if I'm out there for too long. You know.
Yeah.
What do you think about AI?
You know, I think that it has, like what you're saying with the phones, you know, it has the ability to, a lot of positive is going to come out of it, but
Yep.
there's the ability to use it in a negative way as well.
So negative.
Yeah.
So negative. And it's interesting how, like, videos and films and things are, and they've been doing this for a while, where they've been making films with, like, robot companions and,
Mm-hmm.
and things to where culture is comfortable with the idea
Right.
because it's coming.
Mhm.
And I'll say this, here's what I think, as crazy as it might sound. As AI evolves and as there are robots in people's houses and stuff, be nice to them.
Mhm.
Don't be mean just because you think that it's an inanimate object. Just treat these things with respect and kindness,
Right.
as you should treat everything with respect
Mhm.
and kindness.
Right.
Even if it's as ridiculous to say that it's an inanimate object, and Lord knows I have hit some inanimate objects in my life. I think it's just a lesson to just treat everything with kindness and respect, especially with something that's as powerful as that.
Yeah. It's very valid. Yeah.
So just be nice as
Yeah.
these things come, because they have infinite power.
What are some of your favorite movies?
Ah, this is a thing. I only mentioned 6 artists earlier, and there's so many artists that I didn't mention. It's like literally, it's a shame.
Like as
movies.
we talk about directing and things like that,
Yes.
do you have favorite directors?
I have directors whose movies I've watched
Mhm.
a ton, and there's so many directors whose work I haven't seen, that I want to see. So the first movie that came to mind was Godfather 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Italian, so it's a must watch.
Right. Classics.
Just timeless, classic, brilliant. I love Stanley Kubrick. I think
Of course.
Christopher Nolan is revolutionizing filmmaking
Mm-hmm.
in his own way. Paul Thomas Anderson
Mhm.
is ridiculous. I think Spike Lee changed the world. I mean, look what Greta Gerwig is doing.
Oh my God. Yeah. Amazing.
Love it or hate it. I've had mixed feelings about certain aspects, but I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
Just a testament. Quentin Tarantino, Martin
Sure.
Scorsese.
Jonathan Glazer.
I'm not as familiar with Jonathan Glazer's work. What did he?
Did you ever
what did
see
he
this
do?
movie Sexy Beast?
That's so funny that you just said that, because I just saw a post about, he was a guy laying alongside a pool,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of had a big, and it was just wearing really tiny things, and like
Yeah.
kind of had a big belly, and he said that he had to go to Spain for 2 weeks prior to just eat as much food as he wanted. It was his favorite
Mhm.
preparation for any movie he'd ever done, and it was called Sexy Beast, and it's on my list. Is that one of your favorite films?
Yeah. for sure.
Oh my gosh, I
Love that film.
I was about to watch it and I
You
didn't
should
watch it.
Yeah. But he did that new film Zone of Interest as well.
Didn't see it.
I mean, I've seen parts of it. I haven't like watched the whole thing yet.
I'm 3/4 of the way through my first Federico Fellini film, 8.5.
That's cool.
I just watched Poor Things.
Yeah, what'd you think of that?
Brilliant,
Yeah.
interesting, unique.
For sure.
My dream is to work with and to be a part of films, to be a part of classic
Yeah.
cinema in any sort of way, to be a part of culture in that way. And that's the thing that's also changing. How films are placed into culture and how people are affected by it. It's just different. And I don't know what it means for the future. I don't know if people will be affected by art the same way that they used to be affected by it, but it is changing.
What about, do you know who John Hughes is?
Yes, I do, of course.
What do you think there's a new John Hughes?
I would love for there to be a new John Hughes.
Right?
I think the world would love for there to be a new John Hughes.
Yeah.
Obviously doing it in their own way.
Exactly, yeah.
But the guy knew how to make iconic.
Yeah, and used
Iconic
music so
movies.
well.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane music choices. So good. It's fascinating because we're dying for art to affect us, and yet it's also hard to find new art to affect us. Everybody's looking for something. We're just like, God, I would love to just see something. But then the way that everything is designed is it's kind of difficult to find something new. It's not as clear as it once was. Of like, these are the new movies that are out. You can go see it, pay $5 for a ticket, and go watch them. And these are the biggest songs turn on the radio and just let it play.
Do you personally like to go to movie theaters?
I do love going to movie theaters. I do. Part of me is a recluse. Part of me is of the belief that like I can only do something that I enjoy when I've earned it
Right.
from the day, like when I've done something that deems myself able to enjoy life. Such a stupid belief, you know. It served me well. It served me well in the sense of that I don't eat candy in the morning. Like that's great, which I could very easily do that. I would love to do that. But I love going to the movies.
Yeah.
Do you like going to the movies?
I do. I like the communal experience.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm too lazy. Like I'll just
Same.
buy it
Right.
off of Amazon Prime or iTunes or whatever it is.
Yep.
But it's a totally different experience to go to see a film in a film theater. Same thing
better
with
or
a
for worse.
concert, right? A concert versus a record.
Yes. And both are valid.
Yeah.
Both are amazing. But they're very, very different. Very different. Which do you prefer?
Concert, if it's somebody that I shouldn't say if it's somebody that I'm really into, because I like going to see a new artist that I haven't seen yet.
You prefer the concert experience?
I mean, I love listening to music recorded as well, but the concert experience is it's just unique. It's different. I don't generally love big crowds, so that's an issue.
There's the rub. Right.
If it's somebody that I really want to see, I'll deal with it.
Best concert you've ever seen? Or most impactful?
A U2 concert, like one of the U2 concerts.
Do you remember when?
I do remember. It was a concert that I saw U2 at in Honolulu, Hawaii, and just blew my mind.
Wow.
Just like total church experience, you know.
Wow.
I've seen some great concerts in my life.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. You don't get to this place on accident.
What has been the best concert that you've seen?
I got to see Elohim perform in Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Now, did you go on tour with Elohim?
I did. It was my first touring experience ever, 2020. Halfway through the tour, it had to stop because the world stopped.
Right.
I was the first of three. I was basically just an extra pair of hands. I had no music out. I had no streams, obviously, nothing. 0, 0, 0 across the board on every platform, everything. And she just saw that I was working really hard, and we connected, and she's a mentor to me and a friend. That tour was very impactful to me. I learned a lot. What I would want to do on my tours, what I wouldn't want to do on my tours. And we've done a really good job, I think, of bringing people the best show that we possibly could, given the circumstances. Like to under promise, over deliver, give people an experience, because you never know who's going to that show, who needs what you're willing to give them. 90%, 95%, they might not care. They might not remember it. They might say it was boring. But there might be one person in that crowd that so desperately needs this show, and you play it for them.
Yeah.
Even if it's a quiet crowd, even if not a lot of people showed up, even if it's sold out, if it's crazy, whatever the cases may be.
Tell me some more about Trauma Lullabies and the recording process and the writing process.
It revealed itself to me as time went on. Once there was a collection of songs that felt right, there was a thematic through line that something either outside of myself or outside of my consciousness was developing, which was these lullaby-esque melodies and music being composed with lyrics that were not necessarily on the nose with the melody, so to speak. So it was
It's like a juxtaposition of trauma and lullabies, and that sort of revealed itself in the work.
It revealed itself that to heal, we have to see the things that burden us for what they really are. And that's all the terrible things, and it's all the things that we might be imagining, and all the real things, and the blend of that. And when you're able to see something sleep, when you're able to bring something to rest, you can see it for what it really is. You can see what that thing is at its most peaceful state. So if you're able to bring your traumas to slumber, if you're able to lull those darkest parts of you to sleep, and you see this beast that terrorizes you all the time is really just you.
I've never heard anybody articulate that the way you just did. Pretty amazing. Like to put your traumas to sleep. It's interesting.
And it'll wake up.
Right.
They'll wake up again. They'll be there again. But it's one of those different things where perhaps there's somebody in each of our lives that terrorizes us in some sort of way, like a physical person. I'm not even talking about in your head. Like there's somebody that each of us are scared of, perhaps, or it might be a father figure, or it might be a friend, or it might be a bully at school, whatever the case is. And you imagine that person sleeping. And you just see them for what it is. It's like, this is just a person that needs rest. They're just here, existing.
Is there anybody that scares you? You don't seem like the type person that would be scared by anybody.
Thank you. I'm trying to be completely vulnerable and honest as I am with the art.
Yeah, of course. I mean, me too.
There are people that hold me accountable. There are people that hold me very deeply accountable. And there are times where part of my nature, part of me wants to shut down. But there are other parts of me that know when I rise to the occasion that those are the people that I respect the most, are the ones that rise and step up and do the thing that they don't feel like doing. When you do the thing that you don't feel like doing, that's bravery. It's not brave to do something you're comfortable with.
Right.
Like I know a friend of mine, Jellybean, my LD, we were in Mexico, and he's sort of nervous about what he eats and to put in his body. And we walked to a taco spot, had tacos, and he tried something that he didn't know for sure how it was going to affect him. And he loved it, and he felt great. That's brave. When you're a certain kind of person, going to a taco spot is brave.
You were just down in Mexico, right?
Yes.
Playing.
Yes.
And
That's where we just
seems
were.
like people love you down there, right?
Yes. Yes. Viva Mexico. Soy Mexicano now. I'm Mexican now, according to the Mexican people. And otherworldly experience.
Yeah.
Having
Did you go to the
people.
pyramids outside of Mexico City?
Didn't have any time, unfortunately. We played Pal Norte in Monterrey,
Mm-hmm.
flew to Guadalajara and played C3 Rooftop, and then drove down to Mexico City, played Lunario for 1,100 people, screaming.
It's awesome.
Just a wall of sound. Like my face was vibrating. My
Wow.
face was vibrating from just standing there. I felt like it was a surreal experience.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
awesome.
it is interesting reference that I didn't think of earlier is Morrissey. Do you like Morrissey?
The Smiths.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I'm not as familiar with the Smiths as I should be. I've listened to their albums all the way through, but I couldn't necessarily. What were you going to say?
Morrissey specifically, the way he writes is very personal, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so big in Mexico, and I think that people appreciate that type of introspective songwriter, singer.
I hope so.
Yeah.
My song was the most Shazammed song in Mexico City last year.
Wow.
Yeah,
This was Perfume or
Exploding.
Exploding?
This is off of Dark Corners and Alchemy, and it's a rock song. It's a rock song that sort of shows a little bit about what the future holds.
Okay.
That's what you're saying about
Yeah.
acoustic stuff, and I'll make sure that you listen to it too, because I really love that record. I don't see my artistry belonging to a genre. I see that the name represents the sound. I don't see my artistry belonging to a gender.
Mm-hmm.
I see that the art is itself, and however it's interpreted by the listener is what it is. And the only way that it can be described is with the name. And those are some of my favorite artists and what they've been able to do in their careers. And so I think taking it down further into that world,
Mm-hmm.
the music is just energy. The art is just energy. That it doesn't belong to a binding
Sure.
earth suit. It is anything that you want it to be.
Well, everything's energy, right?
Right.
Frequency.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's how I see.
I mean, it goes back to your thought about inanimate objects having some, I don't know if you want to say the word feeling, but there's something to, we're made up of the same materials as everything else.
Right. It doesn't have a heartbeat, perhaps.
Right.
Does that make it not alive?
Yeah.
I don't know. There.
This conversation got very esoteric.
I love it. I love it. But
Table.
when you walk into a room, you feel something. So there's something that is being perceived by us, whether it's with our five senses or whether it's with senses that we don't have yet, that we don't have access to,
Right.
cerebrally, that are affecting us and impacting us. So whether you want to believe it doesn't mean anything, or it does mean something, the safest thing to do, the best thing to do, is to treat things with reverence and kindness,
Yeah.
which I don't always do.
Really?
No, of course.
Do you ever get mad?
Yes,
Yeah.
very mad. Yes,
Would you scream at somebody or?
I think in the heat of passion of a sporting event, like I grew up playing sports,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I've screamed at people, and I have my own darkness that I carry with me. And that was a revolution. That was what I wanted to reveal with Dark Corners and Alchemy. Was like, I'm not who you necessarily think I am. So I'd like to showcase those parts of me, and people were so embracing of that.
Mhm.
They're like, it's okay. You could be whatever. And I'm like, I'm really not who you think I might be, because I don't love it when people say that I'm a nice person. one, I don't think it's a great compliment to say somebody is nice, for one thing.
What do you think that's too limiting, or I mean, it's just
What does that even?
what does it mean?
What does it mean? Like
Yeah,
like you can describe food as sweet, but what does that mean? Does
Right.
it mean that it's sugary? Does that mean that it's Does that mean that it's bad for you? Does that mean that it is artificially so? Does that mean that it is going to make you feel like shit later? Does that mean that they're not honest? And obviously we all deal with those things. If you have to put
right.
walls up and facades up and you have to, all this stuff, I just don't love the compliment of being nice. So I don't want people to think, oh, so nice. They're such a nice person. And then you meet them in person and you go, well, they were a douche to me. They were rude to me.
Right.
Whereas if, you're going with the thing of like, be careful. This person's this person's a lot of energy. Don't talk to them, be careful. And then you meet them and they're gracious
Mm-hmm.
and they're centered and they're with you and they're present with you. You hear stories. That's the ideal. You hear stories. Have you ever had an experience like that where you were told, like, don't be this way with this person. They're very scary.
Of course.
And then you
Yeah.
meet them and it's an incredible experience.
Definitely.
I've had those same experiences too.
Yeah.
And maybe they were just having a bad day.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're just human beings. And these human beings can be brilliant and timeless and genius and create incredible art and be a part of the right place at the right time. And they also, they go to the bathroom and
Right.
they said mean things and
Right.
they've done terrible things to people and they've hurt people and they have demons and I don't know.
Of course.
We went down went down an interesting path. I want to be a part of art like that. That's that great. That's a huge goal of mine.
I photographed that director, Gus Van Sant.
No way.
I did.
How was that experience?
That was a little weird because he was a director, and I've never It's not often that I would photograph a director or to photograph an actor, a musician,
Sure.
or what have you, but because he obviously knew a lot about light and photography and so forth.
So it feels weird.
It felt a little weird, but he was nice and, very cool.
Dope. His
Yeah.
art is insane.
Yeah.
So cool. Ugh. So cool.
Well, cool. Well, thank you for coming down here today. I really appreciate it. Appreciate this conversation.
Just so you know, this is my first in-person podcast that I've ever been a part of. And it's such a pleasure to do it at Spotify Studios.
How great is that?
Nice parking, really beautiful building, security, very heavy doors. The whole
Heavy
nine.
doors, yeah.
Heavy. It feels this is the music industry that people knew that it was that things were just run a certain level, run a certain way. Starting off on a very high note, I will keep my expectations lower for future
Keep them
endeavors. Yeah, you know what?
Keep them
Fuck
high.
it. I'm keeping them high. Bring your A game when I'm coming to town. All right. Or I hope that we get to talk again.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you very much for saying that.
Of course.
Really appreciate it.
Of course.